we're so excited you're here. I'm Nicole Safely with I Am Fierce, and this is the Art of Confidence event. I am super excited to bring my special guest today. Lisa Drennon is joining us, and you guys, we're going on a little date tonight. I loved hearing from Lisa because she dates money. You guys, this is going to be an amazing session. Lisa is the date money, and she's a wealth activator. Like, who doesn't want that in their life? She's been in finance and insurance since 1987. And I love her story because she came from self-sabotage, like who hasn't been there, to really the story of sovereignty. As she rewrote her money story, she paid off $100,000 in debt in 6 months by implementing what she's going to share with you today, her Money Multiplier System. It's unconventional, but it works. And it's the very strategy that enabled her to retire 2.5 years early, move to her dream home at the beach as a millionaire. And now she's on a mission to help 1 million women become millionaires themselves without sacrificing their self-sovereignty by falling head over heels in love with money. Lisa, I am so excited to have you. This is going to be amazing. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your space and having me.
I think, as I thought about putting this event together, this is obviously one of the hottest topics, not just for women in general, but specifically for female entrepreneurs. And, myself looking at my money situation, where I'm at in my career, and where do I get to go? Everybody, let's become millionaires, but really it's more about the drive about wealth. And honestly, for me, it's about learning the things that I need to know to change our money story in our family as I leave a legacy and in our business, and really going to the next level. I'd love to just have you talk a little bit about where you came from, maybe your story a little bit, and we'll just jump off into the money conversation. How do we gain confidence around finance and business to move into this space of abundance with you?
Yeah, my favorite topic to talk about. Well, ever since I was a little girl, I personified everything. I had a great imagination, loved to ask the question why. And money was for us, I was born into a rich family. My parents were entrepreneurs. My mom was a cosmetologist. My dad was a barber. They owned a shop together. And my dad also was in contracting, so he built homes. But then they got divorced, and my mom had to start her business all over. My dad had another family, and then it was my mom and me, my 3 brothers, who were also entrepreneurs as adults. And my grandpa, on my mom's side, he was an entrepreneur, and he was loving and kind and very giving and generous, and had a very successful business. And him and my grandmother were always like there. They owned real estate property, and they always paid everything in cash. So I had 2 different worlds where it was like feast or famine. And, when I went to go visit my dad, it was always like gambling and spending money and taking risk and being really shady in the business deals. And unfortunately, that's what I latched onto. So I grew up thinking that entrepreneurs are not good. They're shady characters. You really can't trust them. I would never tip. I would never tip.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, because it's like, well, I work, no one gives me any tips, right?
Yeah.
And prior to 17, I found myself pregnant, 3 unplanned pregnancies. 2 of them ended in abortion. And it made me feel like dirt. And I just, money was an issue, as part of the reason for the choice, plus, the guy being with a narcissist and, gaslighter. And he was self-employed. He was a plumber, and there was this feast or famine with money. Like, like he'd have a big job and we'd have all this money. And then, he'd buy all these things and it would just blow it. And this cycle just continued. And I grew up with my mom always saying, I have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Money goes where money is. And I'd be like, I want to be where money is.
Yeah, let me go there.
Yeah, let's Money and I hang out. So I would actually, everyone has an imaginary friend. So my money pal, and I would just go do things. And I remember finding $20, back in the 70s, that was huge. on the street, and I was with 4 or 5 other friends, and I picked it up and I was like, wow, $20. I know, of course, all my friends wanted a piece of it because they were with me. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, sure, let's split it. So we split it and we blew it. We went to the corner soda store. It was a soda fountain shop with a toy store and candy in the back. And I got everybody gifts. And I got myself, I sat on the big stool and climbed up there and got myself a beer float, which I could never do because it was too
Too
expensive. Right?
expensive. Yeah.
So I treated myself and I thought, when I grow up, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna treat myself when I want to. I'm not gonna tell myself no. Like I was always told no when I wanted designer jeans. We had to shop at Kmart and this and that. And even though my mom was an entrepreneur, she was a very successful cosmetologist. She couldn't hold on to money.
Mm-hmm.
I remember her mom always saying, like, Josie, you have to save money. And she's like, oh, I can't. I'm a single mom with 4 kids. There's no money to save. I have to use all of my money.
Yeah.
And my grandmother taught me about, saving 10% and giving 10%. And, I did it. And every time I got money, I, divided up. And of course, if I got $1, it'd be 10 cents in the savings, 10 cents. And it was a practice, but then I would want to use that money for something. Like, what was I
Right.
saving it for? And I got the giving part. I never had a problem with the giving part. So as I went into adulthood and, I chose to be a single mom at 18 years old, uh, working full time wasn't paying the bills. It was challenging. So I got a part-time job and I was living at home. My mom was helping me with the daycare and all of that. And I was saving money. I was doing a great job and I bought a car and I did all these things. But then an emergency would happen. And
Mhm.
once I got into the emergency, it's like, is this really an emergency? Like the
Yeah.
car would break down. Yeah, I need that money. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I kept switching jobs and fighting with money. It was just like, I save you and then you're gone. Like you're supposed to stay here for the rainy day. And I wasn't enjoying money. Like it seemed like everything was going towards, savings or bills. And it's like, does it ever end? When is it going to
Nothing for
stop?
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And even though I was saving something, it wasn't really mine because
Hmm.
this voice inside that said, no, you can't touch that. You can't touch it. And I got to be really rebellious. If you told me no, I would be like, yeah, no, we're doing that anyways, because you are not
Hmm.
tell me no. And I ended up in this cycle. So I switched careers, just like I switched niches a lot. And I became a paralegal. My first paralegal job was being a bankruptcy paralegal. And my job was to create budgets for people. And then 22 years old, created $32,000 worth of debt. Some of that came from somebody forging my name on a loan in my family. And I had to pay it off. So it's like, I can't afford to pay that off. So I filed bankruptcy knowing,
What
how
the
to
impact
do it.
would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt horrible. I felt like 1 inch big. Like I knew better. How could I possibly do that? And my grandmother was upset with me because she never used credit. And she's like, I shared with you how to manage your money so this wouldn't happen.
Hmm.
And you're doing this for a living. Like, where's the disconnect? And I'll do better. I'll do better. I'm going to make a change. So when I filed for bankruptcy, I was just like, that's it. I'm never going to do this again. And I started saving between 30 to 50%. At one time, I had 4 jobs. I was working full time and I would pick up side gigs just to bring in extra income and I would save it.
Lock it away.
Yep. And I'd be like, okay. And then I wouldn't look at it. And Money and I were frenemies. It'd be like, yeah,
Hmm.
I got all this money coming in. Okay. You're going into the investment. You're going into, we're going to build up the 401k, the Roth IRA, whatever I was investing in at the time. And we're just going to multiply you. And in 1992, I had been working at Social Security Administration and I was helping people plan out retirements. And one of my clients said to me, thank you so much. Can I give you some advice? I said, absolutely. So he tells me to read the book. I have a copy right here, The Richest Man in Babylon.
Ah, okay.
Recommend it to all my clients. I actually make my clients read this. But in the book, the principles are so simple. And the gentleman had told me, if I just got this book, and if I would have read this at your age, I would have been a multimillionaire. He goes, so do it, read it and implement it. So I did. And it became an addiction. Like it was fun to invest and to watch your money grow.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got to be to the point where I was already doing, so in the book, they teach, save 10%,
Yeah.
invest 10%, and then there was that giving. So I was already implementing it, but the book explains like why, like can you really do it? And what are the goals that you have for it? And putting the goals, connecting the mindset with, this is why I'm saving for this. That drove me to, okay, let's do more, let's do more. But at the same time, I was resentful because I didn't
Yeah, where'd the
have,
resentment come from?
yeah, the resentment came from because I was socking so much money away and I was covering all my needs and wants. There was nothing left for me. And when I
Mm-hmm.
get paid, I'd be like, this is it. Like, this is all I have. Like, where's all my money? I wasn't paying attention because after I filed for bankruptcy, I said to myself, I'm going to take all of my money away. I'm going to put it on. You automatically take my money away and save it, pay the bills, and I'll always be on time. I won't be late for bills. I won't bounce checks, all the things. So I had money envelopes and I set up bank accounts for each envelope. And every time I got paid, I would tell these little monies, okay, little Bens, you're gonna go over here, and you're Washington's, you're gonna go over here, and like
Yeah.
divide the money up. And I would have the Christmas club account, the car account, the clothing account. So every single penny I had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would have my loose change and I would save that in a jar. And I was like, no, we don't touch it. I still have not touched my loose change.
My
Still
son
just,
has one, but it's only he's like the only one that carries cash because he works in service and it's all over the floor. So I finally put it in a bucket, but there's such a difference between physical money and cards too.
yeah,
So yeah, but
yeah,
you're not touching this, you're just moving it. It doesn't
yeah.
sound like you were having a whole lot of fun.
Oh no. And Money and I, we didn't like you said, sometimes we were friends, most of the time we were enemies. And I would not carry cash with me because money burned a hole in my pocket. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore, anytime I had cash, as soon as you broke that 20, it was gone.
Yeah.
So I said, no, we're not going to carry cash. So this deprived mindset, always telling myself no, I, rebelled and I got into 0% credit cards became a thing. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, oh, I can use this and I'll just pay it off in 12 months. Yeah,
Sure.
well, then I got more offers because after the bankruptcy for 7 years, it stays on your record and then it drops off. And I had purchased a home. And once I did that, my credit score flew and I was getting
Right.
all these offers. And then it became like this addiction to 0% credit cards. And I was spending and buying things and, you know, trying to fill this void of this deprived feeling. Like somebody was telling me, no, let me go charge something.
Yeah.
Got into a disagreement. I just self-sabotaged. And I had no idea that I was addicted to these things. Like who can be addicted to a credit card, right?
Right.
But it
Yeah.
filled a void. And at one point, my husband I didn't tell it. I heard it from my husband. And at one point he, found out and, the debt was $100,000. And he was like, how did he say? You committed financial infidelity. And I
Ooh.
was like, what? How dare you? And of course, that started a huge, huge argument. And, so we had to work through that. And, at this point, it's just like, this is my money and I will do what I want with my money. And
Mhm.
I took that stance. And then I was, thinking about like, okay, well, how can I change this behavior? And so I became a certified financial coach. And just, join them. I looked into credit counseling things and I was like, I'm not paying you that much money to take my money away and
Right.
manage it. No, I am confident that I can do it myself. And I couldn't. It just I would pay off 3 or 4 credit cards and I would just do it again. I'd pick up another job and I would be like, okay, all the income from this job is going to pay down this card. And I followed Dave Ramsey for years and I hit, I hit all the baby steps. If you're familiar with Dave Ramsey's
Yep.
step.
Snowball plan and
Yeah.
oh
I
goodness.
hit all the
Yeah.
baby steps, but I had already been investing 30 to 50% of my income towards retirement. And I was thought, when am I supposed to stop doing that? And I'm like, no. And one of my very good friends that I worked with was into, she was a tax person. And she goes, it's not going to make a difference for you to stop your retirement contribution. You're not going to see an increase in your paycheck significant enough to do that. And of course I had to test it. So I did for one pay period.
Mm-hmm.
I got $30 extra and I was
Oh, yeah.
maxing out the contribution. And I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. I'm not listening to that suggestion. I'm going to
Right.
figure it out my way. So I did. I was successful in, of the 12 credit cards, I was successful in paying off 6 of them. And I cut them all up. I put them in this clear jar so I could see, and it filled. Like
Are
the
you
jar was
going?
probably, I don't know, like 6 inches high. And it was filled with tiny pieces of credit cards. And I kept the cycle back up. Every time I would pay off 4 or 5 cards, I'd get another offer. I'd
Uh-huh.
transfer it. I would just pay the bare minimum. And I'd be like, okay, what am I doing? And then I started getting into like this drinking issue where I was like literally drowning my sorrows. And then I gained all this weight and I was just like, something is not right. I have the tools. Why can't I do this? So when I became a certified financial coach, they introduced 10% fun money. I'm like, what are you, nuts?
I'm not
I
supposed
don't,
to
I
have,
don't
how am I
have,
going to make money if I spend it? No
how can I?
fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said, do you know how much 10% of my income is? You want me to go blow it on myself?
Yeah.
That was, and a lot of moms feel this way too. There's no
Yeah.
way we're going to invest 10% of fun money. We'll do it for our kids. Our kids can do travel soccer and hockey, and our
Yep.
husbands can be in the golf club membership. But no, us, no. And get our nails done. No, we're not doing that. So I had to take a $20 challenge in order for me to start believing that I could invest 10% in myself. And I remember doing the $20 challenge and going out. I wanted a pair of black jeans and I went out and I got them, and I still have them today. So that was in August of 20. They still fit. They still look great. And they only cost $12.76. So I had extra
And
money.
76 cents. This is
Yeah.
a thing. Okay, keep going.
Yes.
Okay.
Down to the
Yeah.
penny. So I
Yeah.
bought a pretty necklace to go, with it. And, I had a shirt at home that I was like, oh, I can't wait to wear this outfit. And it's just going to look really fantastic. And so, and I got tons of compliments on it. And I'm like, wow, I can feel good about spending money on myself. This is fantastic. And
Yeah.
then I just started doing it, and all the money was there. And I knew, I created the money multiplier system. So it incorporates the 10% savings, the 10% giving, and the 10% fund money. And
Yeah.
then, when I work with my clients, they come to me with no financial plan. They have no idea. I don't like the word budget because it's so restrictive. So we call it a money management system. But they had no idea what their numbers were. And I like to
Mhm.
say, money isn't about numbers. Just like you don't want to be a number at work, money doesn't want to be a number. It wants to be crushed on. It wants to be loved. It wants to be paid attention to. So,
Ooh.
one of the things that we do is give thanks, gratitude, show gratitude for the money that we do have. And, and when we give, that creates that reciprocal energy, because the more you give, the more you receive. And it's not necessarily monetary value that you receive.
Right.
It's this feeling inside of you like, wow, and I started tipping 20%, sometimes more, because I knew, 2 of my children are in the service industry, and I knew like how hard they worked and their customer service is superb. And I thought, wow, why wouldn't I give them a good tip,
Yeah.
especially if I got, so I always give them extra if they do really good service. And I thought, why am I being stingy if I can help someone? And then I changed my attitude about paying bills. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to sit down and pay bills, but I get to. And every time you pay a bill, you're helping that person. Like if they're working at Verizon or the gas and electric company, you're helping them make money so they
Yeah.
can pay their bills. So you get
Yeah.
to do this.
You have touched on, like, I feel like we're walking in a lot of the same shoes. The mindset around money, growing up, I was a mom at 17 too. So stepped into a whole world that was blown up, not traditional at all. And, how our life events just shape that belief around money. You know, is money limited or is it abundant? You know, and it's not that money is abundant, you're just going to go and, you know, blow it. But if you believe that it's a finite resource, you hold on to it so tightly. Even in your good habits, I hear you not having fun, not enjoying it being stressful, being addictive. Like, I just wonder, and this is an invitation for all of you who are on the summit too, is just take a minute and think about your money story, like the story behind it. When you talked about your mom, you know, having to have an account for this and that and moving, I watched my mom on Saturday mornings rob Peter to pay Paul, and she made it look like it was all good and everything was fine. And then as an adult, I look back, I'm like, no, this is the thing that shaped me. I hated paying bills. I hated paying bills so much that when I had money, I'd still pay them late because I didn't like to release it. My husband's finally like, I think I'm going to take over. You know, we haven't had a late bill for like the last 5 years. I still am working on that money story though, because now I need to step back in and proactively and in a healthy way approach the money. So it is this excitement, like when you shifted your energy around talking about the past to have a crush on it and to love on it and be appreciative. I want to hear more about that, because I could just feel your energy shift in that as you described it.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's a daily activity. It's work that I have to do every single day, because money stories that we tell ourselves are so ingrained in our brain, and they're passed from generations. You know, like I have, you know, we each have two sets of parents, right? We are one set of parents. We each have their mom and the dad with their parents, and, you know, and so forth.
Yeah.
And if you think about these families coming together and their core values and how they're managing money, you know, there's two completely different worlds. So my mom grew up very wealthy and secure, but my dad, he was one of 9, and his dad passed away when he was 15 years old. So he lived in a single mom household with all these kids, and him being the youngest, you know, he had really no direction, and he was just, it was all about, you know, make fast money. What can you do to make a fast buck? So, and he had a very strong influence on my brothers. I have 3 older brothers, and they would just talk about money constantly and how do we get more of it. So they were always hustling and gambling and trying to multiply their money really, really fast. You know, and then you had my grandparents who were very steady and, like, you know, doing these things, implementing a budget, implementing this strategy of money, and then teaching it to me, teaching it to my mom, and my mom wasn't listening. And I'm over here as an observer thinking, okay, who do I want to be more like? You know, and I kept focusing on my dad's part because it was hustle bustle, excitement, like they were traveling, they were doing all these things. Well, my grandparents were doing that as well. However, they weren't showy about it. They were very conservative. And I remember going shopping with my grandmother, and I had like $100, and I had started a new job and I needed clothes. She says, "Oh, I'll take you to Macy's." I'm like, I can't afford to shop at Macy's. She's like, "Yes, you can. I'll show you how." So we had the best time, and we went to the clearance racks, and bought all these beautiful outfits, and they were all discounted, you know, the awesome sales that they have. And I got like 12 outfits for $100 that were business clothes that were beautiful. And it's just like, it was a beautiful experience to know. It's just like, okay, clearance shops. Like, I don't have to go secondhand clothing. I can do clearance racks and still get something really beautiful. Yeah. So having
feel
that,
good about what you spent.
exactly, and feel good about it and not think, oh, I don't deserve this or what have you. So for me, I didn't realize that my past choices had crippled my thought process of knowing I could follow a better path. And I just kept going back to the bad, to the, you know, focusing on the negative. And I would pay, like I said, I got into this cycle of debt, pay it off, rack it back up. And I knew better. It's just like, why can't I break this cycle? So I was in a program with a marketing coach, and she had a unit on money mindset. And this guest speaker came in and did this visualization with money, with hanging out with money. And you rode this beam and this and that. And I was just like, okay. And it made me curious. But after I did it, I started thinking, like, Money and I used to hang out all the time. Like, we used to like be friends. That was my imaginary friend. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll call her and we'll hop on a call. So I did. I scheduled a call, and she had a very unusual sales call. You like did an hour and a half of this thing. And she brought me through this journey of childhood. And
Oh.
I learned that I did not like anyone telling me no.
Mm-hmm.
So she, shared her offer with me, and I was just like, it was $10,000 for a 6-month program. And I was like, what?
We're
What?
supposed to be getting more money.
Yeah, like I can't spend $10,000. I don't have $10,000. I'd have to put it on a credit card. And I was just like, well, and I'm like, I'm trying to get off being addicted to credit cards. And now you want me to put $10,000 on this credit card? Like, really? So I'm like, I'm gonna have to have some time to think about this. And my credit cards are cut up, right? And I
Yeah.
had them displayed so I would remember, like, you don't
Don't
need
do that again.
credit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't touch my investments. No way. There was no way I was taking money out of my savings to pay for this. So I waited 2.5 weeks, and then I, called her and I said, you know, I would like to do it, but I'm not sure if I can afford to do it right now. And she's like, well, if you pay in full, it's $8,000 and you get a month for free. And I was like, oh. And she's like, and she, talked and said, well, this is what we're going to work on. And this is going to change your money beliefs. And you're going to have a whole different story to tell yourself. And I was just like, okay. So I'm like, I do have a credit card that has that balance on that, and I had to empty out the jug, and I did a puzzle. I pieced them all
Are
together.
you serious?
I'm
Okay.
serious. It took me 2 days. Took me 2 days to do it. And I needed that. I couldn't find the 3-digit code that I needed.
Uh-huh.
And I called up the credit card company, and they're like, no, we can't give that to you. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So like, we can send you a new card, but it was going to take like 10 days. I'm like, I don't have 10 days. Knew I had to do it right then, or else I wasn't going to do it.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
So I finally found the right card and the right corner to go with this card. And so I gave it to her, and I was puke zone. But the first, it took like 2 months for me to really peel back the layers.
Mm.
She used art, and I'm not an artist. I was kind of hesitant to work with her because I'm like, I don't paint. I can barely draw a stick figure. You want me to draw? She's just, it's abstract. Don't worry about it. And it exercised the part of the brain that I never tapped into that creative side. And so
Yeah.
as I drew out, she had me draw out my debt and all the things that it did for me. And then she had me draw out my assets. And then when I compared them, I had over $2 million. I was like, what? I do? Like, I did
Wow.
that? Like, this is amazing. And, and she's like, yeah. And if you use your investments to pay down your debt, you still are a millionaire. You still,
Uh-huh.
because it's $100,000. And before that, I had never, ever added up my debt. When I became a financial coach, we had an exercise where we would do it, but we didn't add up all the credit card balances. We just put the totals, and then we, did the snowball thing, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the strategy to pay it down. But to add up the total,
Mm-hmm.
ouch,
Yeah.
ouch. And then the
Yeah.
thing that saved me was I wasn't paying interest. And as soon as interest hit, like I may have paid like $112 of interest, I'd be like, oh no, we're not having that. Like, what can I do then I would hustle, get another
The other one.
side gig. And then I would go after it because I am not
Mhm.
interest. So that story, I rewrote my money story through art, and then I wrote it out in words, and I would say it to it's 6 pages long, and it's big, huge paper and tiny letters, because I write in cursive.
Uh-huh.
Every single line is filled, 6 pages front and back. And I would read it every day. It took me 20 minutes to read it until I could reprogram my brain to say that I'm not a gambler. Entrepreneurs aren't bad. I am a financial genius. I am a good steward. And then I started thinking like how I felt towards money. Like money was a bad person. Money was a monster. Money took advantage of you. Money left you hanging. Money didn't show up for dinner. And then I would rewrite it to say, okay, is that really true? And then I would replace that. And all of our money stories are unique. I mean, even though there's a lot of similarities, we still have our own money story. And when I read my money story today, I'm like, it still changes. Because there's still that, like, we just bought a new car and it took me 3 weeks to withdraw the money from my investment account to pay for the new car, even
Yeah.
though that's what it was for. And it's like, don't spend your money. You can't, it won't be there if you spend it. So I know there's more layers to it. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Always evolving. We're in that same space. We are getting ready to buy a new house. And for years we had no money. And I say for years, we've been multiple six-figure earners for at least 12 to 15 years, but it felt like forever. Like I still remember the week that we had $40 to pay for food for 4 kids.
oh, wow.
That was so long ago, but like that's the story versus the regular, how we live. We live in a much smaller house than I ever would have thought we should be in. And now we're thinking about buying this. It's probably 5 times what our payment is today. And just the thought, and my husband's like, it's fine. Like we can totally do that. And I still am like having it come apart today. Do I really want to do that? Where's the money going to? So the story, the ingrained stories still remain there.
Mhm.
I love the connection to art though. And switching the sides of your brain to think about it differently. Was the picture of your debt ugly? Like, was
Oh
it
yeah, it was a
kind of
black, it was a
monstery?
black brick wall that was, crumbling. It was kind of like a rounded thing. And it was thick, and there was just so many stories
Heavy.
I told myself. Yeah. So it was
Uh-huh.
really heavy. So drawing it out and realizing it. And now, like, in my financial coaching certification program, we had a I hate debt worksheet. And now it's like, no, it's an I love debt worksheet, because debt, everyone assumes that you're using debt for bad things. You're blowing it.
Right.
You're buying things that are, here today, gone tomorrow. But that's not, I used it for transportation, education, travel, all kinds of things that really helped me to grow. You can, once you get over that addiction of using credit cards to meet your monthly expenses, you can actually use it to leverage your investments so that you can make your money grow. Like, we just moved into our dream home on the beach, not even a year ago. And we decided to do a mortgage because the rates were so low compared to our investments. We knew we were going to make money off the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, "Oh, you have a mortgage? How could you have a mortgage?" I'm like, "Because it's my money's working for
You're
me."
using someone else's money
Yeah.
to make
And
more money.
and that's a really hard concept for people to understand, because, the mantra is be debt free. I'm debt free. I paid everything in cash, but why not? I mean, 0% credit cards for 12 months, if you can discipline yourself to be
Right.
able to utilize that, as long as you have the money management system in place, the money multiplier system works beautifully. But it's showing up. Like, I date money once a week. We sit down, my money partner is Mel, and we sit down and we go over the portfolio. We check on the assets. We make sure that they're working for us, that the ROI is really maxing out. And if not, we look around, we're like, okay, well, maybe we should move some money around and invest over here. And we celebrate that every time we get income. Multiple income streams are coming in. And even if I got a check in the mail for $5.62. I'm like, my initial thought was, are you kidding me? Who wasted the paper to cut
The
this
paper.
check?
Yeah.
Right. And they had
Mhm.
to mail it to me. I mean, it probably cost $7 to mail this check to me. But that was the old Lisa, the little Lisa. And then, the new money story is, no, every penny counts. So, like, if I'm walking down the street and I see a penny, I pick it up and say, thank you, I got a penny.
Right.
And it goes in my little piggy bank at home. And being grateful for what we do have, because we're so used to saying there's not enough.
Not enough.
And
Mhm.
I don't have enough. I can't afford it. It's not in our budget. I got to cut back. I can't have that.
Yeah.
Stop it. Just stop. You can have whatever you choose to have. You get to do these things.
I love it. I love it. I just am still in the energy space. Like you just changed everything in your story and how powerful that is, getting, falling in love with money. And even, the stories, oh, money's the root of all evil. Like, No, it's not. It's all about what you do, what you think, how you bless, all of those things, incorporating the giving that you have, and the fun, enjoying your money. We are here. It's a vehicle. What's the vehicle going to help you do, be, have that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I am intrigued about the money multiplier system. So I heard several things: looking at your money story, writing down what your story is, changing your story, and then being purposeful about where that gets to go and being in a positive energy in that. What does it look like to work with you? Either, do you work with just individuals? Do you work with business owners? Like, who's your ideal client and how do you engage?
Yeah. I just want to make one comment about the money, the root of all evil,
Oh,
because
yes.
I went through that thinking that that was a true statement. And when
Yeah.
I really examined it, it was the love of money that's
Yes.
the root of all evil. And then when I came up with I date money, and I was just like falling head over heels in love with money, that kept coming up to me. And I had to really focus on that thought process. And it's like, okay, so we're loving on money, but it's not the same. It's the idol. It's the putting it before everything else. And you can do this with work. You can do this with going to the gym, with healthy eating habits. So whatever you're focusing on grows, right? But really knowing like where your priorities are and focusing on that. So when I work with ladies, I love working with multi-passionate entrepreneurs. I work with Facebook group leaders and podcast hosts, business owners, and in groups. I do small group coaching with that energy of everyone has a story. What's
Yeah.
yours? And I'm a certified aromatherapy practitioner, which uses essential oils. So with the power of scent and breath work and thoughts, we go back when we felt this way. We find out where these feelings are, where these blockers are, and we work through them to change our money story. And we implement this wealth activation roadmap. It's customized, personalized. So when my clients come to me and work with me, it's a 6-month program. They get 3 calls, and if they pay in full, they get a bonus call. But they're 3 one-to-one calls, and we set up like what's their goal for the 6 months. What is the one thing that they want to work on? And really implementing this strategy, because anyone who works with me, they have to take the action steps. It's not going to work if you don't.
Right.
The money multiplier system is threefold. It's the, saving and giving and, having fun with the 10%, but it's also creating the strategy. It's also creating the way, to trust yourself, to have confidence to say, this is what I'm going to invest in. And I'm not a financial advisor, but if my clients want to invest, and I'm, I'm an independent insurance broker. So I know a lot about investing in like final expenses, life
Vehicles.
insurance and the vehicles. And I know a lot about, because working at Social Security, we know a lot about a lot of different investments and what the options are. But there's some I don't like out there. And I have a financial advisor that I work with, that if you want to know like true investing and portfolio planning for lifetime for retirement, I will connect you with the financial advisor. And it's free. It's a free service. And then if you decide to purchase any of those products, they get paid from the commission. So a lot of people have that misunderstanding. Oh, well, if I work with a financial advisor, it's going to cost me a fortune. I got to be rich to do that. No. And the younger you are to do this, the better.
Yes.
Because you always want to be planning to set up, and I do life insurance policies, and I want to sell them to people who are as young as can be, because it's less expensive. And single people, especially when you pass away, who's taking care of your funeral? It costs at least $12,000 to have a burial.
Yeah.
And, cremation costs $2,500 to $3,000. And if you don't have money in your account, you don't have this set up, who's taking care of it for you?
Yeah. Somebody.
And thinking about these things and planning for the retirement and getting the confidence, we all start off knowing nothing about nothing. And we learn as we grow, right?
Yeah.
We all learn how to walk and talk and, eat with a fork. And we all take those little baby steps to get to where we need to be. And if you think about, you have these gifts and talents that you can multiply and you can use, but multi-passionates get so confused because there's so many things that they want to do that they don't do anything to completion because they're not sure of themselves. And we all get this feeling of I'm not good enough. So when my clients come to me, they usually do not know how much money they're making. They have no idea what their income and expenses are. They might have some investments, but they don't pay attention to them. They're like, yeah, I don't touch those. And a lot of them have debt. Some of them have very manageable debt.
Yeah.
And I like tackling the ones with any kind of debt just because I know the possibilities. And a lot of times they're like, well, this isn't going to work for me because they have this pattern of starting a business, dropping it, picking up something. But after working with me, they find that their business starts to flourish because all of their gifts and talents are just the tools. And if we can pick up the right tools, then we could use it.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
allow
what,
them to build on, the time to build on itself too. Some of it's
yeah.
patience and just, I think it is confidence, the knowing that, okay, this will come, eventually it's going to grow and where I'm at will continue to thrive. So
Yeah.
I love that. And I think this is so important. To me, the confidence out of this around money comes from knowing what's there, knowing how to use the tools properly, and then, having a partner that's been there and done that. That was the thing that impressed me about you. It's like, I've done the work. I'm not just a financial advisor who went to school and I'll tell you what to do, but probably under the covers, I'm not really doing that. I mean, how many of us do the same thing, right? So the fact that you've walked the walk and actually done your own plan and been in that experience, I think is super powerful for other women who are like, okay, where do I turn? And also, having someone that you can trust to be open and honest with. Like when we started talking, I'm like, I'll tell you the dark secrets in my closet because they're not pretty, but the only way that we can get to the right place is to like look at it and then figure out the next right step. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and then being willing to partner with people to get them into that money multiplier and get in a better place. So I know you had a system that you wanted to give to the folks that attended the conference. You want to tell us a little bit about that? And then we will connect you guys with Lisa. I've got all of her social. We'll get you directly connected with her through the event and encourage you to reach out. Lisa, tell us about the Money Multiplier System you're going to give everybody.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give you another gift as well, because the second gift's one of my favorites. But the Money Multiplier System is a guide. It teaches you why you're implementing the system. And it's, there's 3 parts. I love the number 3 and 7. It represents full and completeness. And when you implement the Money Multiplier System, a lot of my clients will come to me and they're like, I can't do that. Start off with 10%. Like some people will say, oh, we'll just do 1%. Choose one of the 10% to invest in. I suggest doing a savings account. Look at your current savings account and what's the interest rate. If you're not getting at least 3.5%, change banks, move your money and start saving. And it talks about saving an emergency fund. I recommend 7 months of just expenses. A lot of people will include their monthly bills. That's not what the emergency fund is. It's what happens if you can't work for a few months. You get sick, you have to take time off, or what, you're changing niches like I did 3 times. You need to have that money available to you so that you're not panicking. And, it talks about investing, the principles in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon. If everybody just saved 10% of their income, do you know how much money you would have? So I have a challenge where, I retired from Social Security Administration after 30 years of service. And, if you go to socialsecurity.gov and set up a My Social Security account, you can pull your benefit estimate statement. On there. It's going to list all of your earnings that you've paid into the Social Security system. And you can add those up to see how much money you've made, so far in your life, and take 10% of that.
Yeah.
And look at that figure and say, wow. I mean, so I made over $2 million. And if I just saved 10% of that, I would have, 213,000, but then we're going to add compounded interest, right? And then if you think about, investing in CDs or real estate and how much more that's going to multiply. So the guide tells you all about that. It walks you through that.
Wow.
But the bonus thing is the money dating game. And that's my baby. So there's 7 money personalities, and the 7 money personalities are my interpretation of all the things, of all the people I've worked with through the years. We have the same characteristics. And a lot of times we're like, there's Harry the hoarder. And if you think about what you're holding on to, what you're hoarding, or there's Ian the investor who's savvy and fun. And, he's always celebrating all of his multiple investments that he has. Most of them are like real estate, right? And sell the spender, and Sam the saver. So you can go through, there's a free money meditation guide. Highly recommend you take the time to do it. It's less than 7 minutes, and it prepares your mind for what you're going to walk through as you meet the money personalities. You're going to see some, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's me. And then, when we're dating, we're always attracted to somebody that has something that we want, right? Our partners have the strengths that we want. That's why we attract, my husband's a hoarder, I'm the spender, right?
Yeah.
And we're totally opposite that way. So when you think about who do you want to partner with right now, Ian, the investor, is the number one guy. He's the one that gets picked on the dates all the time. And it's just a really good experience. It's very powerful. And, there's a short video about each of the personalities that tells you a bit more. And then you can book a call with me. And there's a freebie, 20-minute wealth activation call where we realign your finances to get you a micro result to show you. And
wow.
It's really
all right. I'm signing up. I'm signing up. We're going to talk, and just to go to the next level, because personal finance, obviously bleeds into the business finance. And if you don't have it on right in one space, you're not going to have it right on the other. And I know for one, I have some work to do for sure. And just really creating that next path forward. This is so awesome. So we will put the links to the 2 programs. The dating game sounds like super fun. We'll put that in the show notes so you guys can go out there, book your time with Lisa. And then are you going to be able to come with us on our Ask Me Anything sessions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, you guys. So we will have Ask Me Anything. Look for those dates and times, and you'll be able to come in and actually engage directly with Lisa. Ask all your questions. I know now that we've talked, and be like, here's my list. So shamefully, I will be taking advantage. This was really awesome. And congratulations for you and your walk, that you've just like blown it out of the water. How exciting, and living your dream life in Florida. And it's just impressive. So
Yeah.
Lisa Drennon, the Wealth Activator, thank you for being with us in the Art of Confidence.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Yeah.